And there I was. I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife. This one's wife and Kamala Harris. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You won't have failed to notice that Joe Biden eventually, under duress, decided that he's not going to compete in the forthcoming presidential election, and he endorsed Kamala Harris as vice president. Naturally, this is something that this one's wife's PR has decided that would merit an opportunity to get a PR puff piece out there for the purposes of ensuring that this one's wife is spoken about. The relevant wheel has been spun, and this time amongst the supine publications, it is Town and Country that has been tasked with generating a PR puff piece. This is demonstrative of the way that this one's wife will, almost like a prostitute, will take advantage of any situation for personal gain. Accordingly, Emily Barak writes, "Here's what this one's wife said about Kamala Harris back in 2020. Well, you might argue that's not particularly relevant. It's 4 years old. But of course, in the world of this one's wife, the fact that Kamala Harris is now likely to enter the presidential race means that there is an opportunity for this one's wife to make it about her, to utilize something that's taking place to then cause it to be about her so that she can control people and draw fuel by way of their reactions." The article states, "With the news President Joe Biden is dropping out of the 2024 election and endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, it's looking increasingly likely that Harris will be the Democratic nominee for president following the Democratic National Convention next month." Now, those of you listening may not care about the presidential election because it's not applicable to your country. Some of you may take an interest in it because it's the United States, and the United States has an impact on the rest of the world. And some of you listening will be very much interested in it because you're from the United States. Well, it gives you an opportunity to consider whether Kamala Harris might be someone that would get your vote as you listen to what I have to tell you. As a consequence of her potential presentation as the nominee for president following the Democratic National Convention in August, Harris's past career and statements are going to re-enter public discourse. And naturally, Town and Country here have taken the opportunity to bring up the past in relation to what she said about this one's wife. Apparently, Kamala Harris has twice posted about the Duchess of Sussex. Not exactly something which is done with great regularity, but that's not going to stand in the way of this one's wife's narcissism to try and build a connection between her and Kamala Harris for the purposes of the pursuit of the prime aims. The first time was in October 2019, nearly 5 years ago, where she reshared a video of this one's wife in South Africa, engaging, of course, in the pity play, where she talked about the negative press she received during her pregnancy, where, of course, she stated, "Nobody asked me if I was okay, blub blub." Harris wrote, "This is incredibly important. We must remember that it's a sign of strength to show emotion. This one's wife, we are with you." And what she tweeted was quoting a post from the improbably named plastic-faced lickspittle Lieutenant Omid Scobie, who has been placed on the shelf at the moment, where he, in his role as a more prevalent lieutenant on October the 20th, 2019, posted, "Duchess, this one's wife, also opens up in the documentary about dealing with negative press during her pregnancy," and provides the video from ITV with the promo. And then that's retweeted by Kamala Harris. So you might want to take into account Kamala Harris's ability to judge the character of people by endorsing this notorious narcissist and stating that it's incredibly important to remember that it's a sign of strength to show emotion. And naturally, this one's wife's PR, in order to try and maintain her relevance, states, look, this one's wife is so important, she is so memorable, so of the moment, that we're going to remind you of the fact that the likely Democratic nominee for the presidential election, Kamala Harris, tweeted about her. Not once, but twice. Kamala Harris has undoubtedly tweeted about lots of things. In actual fact, Kamala Harris has tweeted 10,700 times. Of those 10,700 tweets, 2 have been about this one's wife, which equates to 0.019% of her tweets being in relation to this one's wife. But that's not going to let this one's wife's PR stand in the way of ensuring that this one's wife gets a mention. Oh no, an entire article can be generated about the fact that the prospective presidential candidate has tweeted twice out of 10,700 tweets about this one's wife, and bringing that to the attention of the world to demonstrate just how relevant this one's wife truly is. Furthermore, in June 2020, Harris also posted a clip from the virtual graduation address this one's wife gave in 2020, writing, "The only wrong thing to say is to say nothing. Thank you, this one's wife, for this powerful statement." Ugh. Harris is known for her word salad, and she clearly isn't able to identify it in others, as she's endorsing more of the beige nonsense that this one's wife spouts. Of course, it's a bit of mutual masturbation here with regard to the egos, because Town and Country points out that Kamala Harris has tweeted twice, oh yes, twice out of a grand total of 10,700 posts about this one's wife, but it's not all one-way traffic, you know. Oh no, it's the mutual admiring masturbation club here, because this one's wife has spoken about her admiration for Vice President Harris. Of course she has. In August 2020, the Duchess of Sussex filmed a conversation about suffrage with Gloria Steinem. Gloria who? Yes, another person who's been popped on the shelf by this one's wife. Apparently, she's going to march on Washington with her, but guess what? It didn't happen. And we haven't heard anything about this one's wife and Gloria for some time. I guess Gloria, her interest in feminism isn't as deep as she made out to you, and you've been another individual who's been markled. Anyway, returning to the case in point, the fact is that during that conversation, the two spoke about then-candidate Harris. This is Steinem and this one's wife. The heart of the Democratic Party has been black women, actually, and now there is a potential vice president who is black, and that's exciting, Steinem said. In response, this one's wife agreed, saying, "I'm so excited to see that kind of representation. You know, for me, being biracial, growing up, whether it was a doll or a person in office, you need to see someone who looks like you in some capacity." Once again, she can't help herself, can she? Gloria Steinem, what does she state? Whether you agree with her or not, let's just go back and examine what she stated. The heart of the Democratic Party has been black women, actually, and now there is a potential vice president who is black, and that's exciting. So what's Gloria Steinem talking about? The Democratic Party, black women, vice president who's black. All about other people. Nothing to do with Gloria Steinem. Now let's look at this one's wife. Banal opening statement. "I'm so excited to see that kind of representation." God, that's meaningful, insightful. And then, of course, in the very next breath, she's talking about herself. You know, for me, being biracial, throw that in there, growing up, whether it was a doll or a person in office, you need to see someone who looks like you, talk about yourself, in some capacity. And then she continued, "As many of us believe," talking about her own beliefs, "you can only be what you can see." Whatever the fuck that means. And in the absence of that, how can you aspire to something greater than what you see in your own world? Talking about herself again, I think maybe now we're starting to break through in a different way. Completely meaningless beige word salad from her again, but notice the difference between what Steinem says and what she says. Steinem is talking about other things, other people. This one's wife immediately has to bring it onto herself. And thus, you can make your own mind up here about Kamala Harris and the fact that she has twice tweeted in favour of this one's wife, and naturally, this one's wife has to then ensure that she can piggyback Kamala Harris's increasing prominence, because she's likely to be the Democratic nominee for the presidential election, but once again making it all about her by talking about her interactions with Kamala Harris. Once again, this self-absorbed narcissist that is this one's wife demonstrates her narcissism in full effect. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.